Hey guys, tonight we're sailing into a tale that starts like a joke and ends with fins. Picture this, a small Mediterranean port town, the air thick with the scent of salt and overripe figs, seagulls squabbling over a fish carcass on the dockhand. You, wandering barefoot, sunburned, maybe just a little hungover from last night's tavern wine that suspiciously tasted like vinegar. The sun's too bright, the locals are too quiet, and there's something strange about the man leaning against a barrel near the quay. He's wearing a travel-stained cloak and no sandals. His hair's curly, a bit wild, and there's a sleepy, amused look in his eyes, like he's seen a lot and plans to see a lot more. You don't know it yet, but that man is Dionysus, god of wine, madness, revelry, and surprises. And you're about to get on a ship you absolutely shouldn't trust. With a crew you'll definitely regret, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, while we're setting sail, let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is in your corner of the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing near the harbor, and the sea is doing that thing it always does, rolling in with lazy confidence, dragging its frothy feet along the shore like a bored cat. The wooden planks beneath your feet creak a little as you step closer to the man with the cloak. He turns to you, half smile blooming on his face. "Nice morning for a voyage," he says. You blink. That's not ominous at all. He nods toward a ship bobbing lazily in the water. It's not the fanciest vessel in the harbor. In fact, it looks kind of beat up. The sail's patched, the hull's been repainted in a color you can only describe as regretful brown, and the men on board don't exactly radiate trustworthiness. One of them is actively picking his teeth with a fishbone, but the man with the cloak just walks straight toward it. You follow. This isn't entirely your choice. It's like your feet know something you don't. Dionysus, because yes, that's who he is, has taken mortal form. Again, he does this sometimes. The myths never say why, not clearly. Some suggest he's searching for his lost followers. Others say he just enjoys the chaos that comes when mortals underestimate him. Historians still argue whether these wanderings were part of religious ritual storytelling or meant to serve as moral warnings about hubris. Either way, this is one of those days. The crew of the ship you can already tell aren't the storybook sort. They don't have gallant names or noble quests. These are pirates, plain and simple, and not very good ones. Their boat smells like old fish and spilled wine, which is somehow both suspicious and fitting. One of them, a wiry man with one eye and two gold teeth, gives you a nod as you board. "New recruits, huh?" "Something like that," Dionysus says, brushing past him. You find a seat on a coil of rope near the mast, trying not to think about the last time you made a terrible decision that started with the phrase, "Sure, let's go sailing." The sun is higher now, and the boat rocks gently as the crew prepares to shove off. They don't know who Dionysus is. To them, he's just a weird traveler with bare feet, a calm voice, and a flask he's been sipping from since dawn. But there's something odd about him, something in the way the breeze seems to follow him. How the light hits his hair just a bit too perfectly. You settle in. You're going somewhere, though you're not quite sure where. The coastline shrinks behind you, and soon it's just sea and sky. Now, if you've ever wondered what it's like to sail with pirates who think they've scored an easy target, the answer is tense, smelly, and surprisingly musical. One of them is humming a shanty that definitely doesn't rhyme, while another sharpens a blade he probably hasn't cleaned in months. You hear whispers, think he's rich, maybe a noble. That cloak looks expensive. We could ransom him. You glance at Dionysus, who's sitting cross-legged near the prow, humming to himself. His flask is now uncorked, and this is ordered, never seems to empty. He takes a sip, then offers it to you. You hesitate, then you take a sip. The flavor is hard to describe. It tastes like warmth, like laughter at midnight, like wild grapes and forgotten songs. And it hits you not with a punch, but a slow ripple. Through your body, you blink. The sea is shimmering more than before. Dionysus gives you a wink around you. The crew starts to get restless. They've decided their plan. They're going to sail to a secluded island, tie up the rich man, and sell him or worse. One of them even jokes about tossing him overboard and taking whatever he's got. You try to warn him, but he already knows. He's smiling. The thing about Dionysus is he's not a war god. He's not stormy or angry, not in the usual sense. But he's chaos wrapped in silk, madness with a wine-stained grin. And when he decides to reveal himself, well, let's just say no one forgets. As the ship sails farther out, the crew's laughter fades. Something is off. One of the pirates swears the deck is sticky. Another yells grapes are growing from the mast. Actual grapes, clusters of them, plump and purple, dangling like party favors from nowhere. You look down, wine is seeping between the floorboards. Not water, not tar. Wine. The wind picks up, but it's not the salty gusts of sea breeze, it's warm, scented like a vineyard in summer. Birds appear overhead, not seagulls but doves. Dionysus stands. He's still smiling, but his eyes glow now, faint and golden. The cloak slips from his shoulders. He doesn't look mortal anymore. The crew stares. One pirate drops his knife, another drops to his knees. Gods, someone whispers, Dionysus. Someone else croaks. The deck creaks as if laughing. You hold your breath, and then come the animals. There's no better way to say it. A leopard appears on the ship. Right there, next to the main mast, licking its paws like it owns the place. A panther follows. Vines twist up the rigging, flowers blooming where ropes used to be. You're not sure if you're dreaming, drunk, or just finally losing it, but this is real. You can smell the fur. You can hear the wine bubbling beneath your feet. Dionysus walks toward the pirates. They stumble back, confused, terrified. He doesn't shout. He doesn't threaten. He just looks at them with that amused, half-lidded expression, the kind you'd wear if someone tried to mug you while you were wearing a suit made of lightning dot. And then, with one soft breath, he speaks. You wanted a gift, he says. His voice echoes not loudly, but like it's being whispered by the sea itself. You shall have it. The ship lurches. You grab the railing. The pirates scream, and they begin to change. Not in agony, not in pain, just shift. Their bodies stretch, ripple, smoothen. Arms become fins, faces elongate, legs fuse. You watch, stunned, as the pirates fall into the scene, not flailing, but sliding, sleek and silver. They cut through the waves with ease. They've become dolphins, playful, fast, impossibly graceful. One leaps beside the ship, clicks, a chirping note in your direction, then dives. You blink. The leopard yawns. Dionysus turns to you. I like them better this way, he says. You nod slowly, hard to argue with that. You lean against the warm, wine-soaked railing of the ship, still bobbing quietly in the sea, still completely unsure how to feel about what just happened. Dolphins. The pirates are dolphins now. They leap and twirl beside the ship like they've always belonged in the ocean, like they were just waiting for an excuse to let go of swords and greed and scurvy breath. One nudges the hull playfully. Another chirps what might be a pirate insult, but in Dolphin, you half expect them to start drawing treasure maps with seaweed. Dionysus, standing barefoot on the deck, wipes a smudge of grape juice from his chin, and sighs. Well, that was refreshing. You say nothing, which feels like the right move. The leopard stretches and pads toward him, tail flicking lazily. A dove lands on the mast, cooing like this is all completely normal. And maybe, for Dionysus, it is because, here's the thing, Dionysus doesn't punish the way other gods do. He doesn't hurl thunderbolts like Zeus or rain frogs like some Old Testament fever dream. No, his justice comes in wine-soaked dreams and softly surreal vengeance. He doesn't end people. He rewrites them. And today, he's rewritten pirates. Into dolphins. The transformation scene. That's the part poets love. But what most versions skip is what happens next. Because now, you're just ... floating. The sea is calm. The pirate-sorry dolphin circle lazily nearby, as if unsure whether to hang around or head off to do dolphin things. And Dionysus, he's sitting again, cross-legged near the prow, now surrounded by vines and a few lazy bees that definitely weren't there before. So, he says, ever wonder what the sea tastes like when it's been blessed by a god? You blink, he offers you a flask. You hesitate again. Then you sip the wine. Inside is different now. It's richer, deeper, like a story passed down for centuries and aged in oak and myth. It hits your tongue like truth. You exhale then, of course, things get weirder, because Dionysus snaps his fingers, and the sails fill not with wind, but with music. Yes, music. The sail billows out, and you can hear it flutes, drums, a lyre maybe, all soft and pulsing like a heartbeat slowed by sleep. Where are we going, you ask? Dionysus grins. That's the right question. The ship starts moving, guided by no oars, no rudder, just drifting on rhythm and myth. The coastline melts into the horizon behind you. Hours or was it minutes? Pass, the light dimming into the syrupy glow of twilight. Somewhere along the way, you fall asleep. You dream of olive trees. When you wake, the boat has stopped again, but not at any island you recognize. This one is covered in wild ivy, the beach sparkling with crushed seashells and something faintly golden. Birds you don't know the names of sing strange lullabies. Dionysus hops lightly from the deck onto the shore, the leopard following like an obedient cat, which it definitely isn't. You follow him through the underbrush, vines parting without a sound. Was this island always here? You ask. Of course not, he says, but it's here now. You pass what looks like the ruins of an old temple columns wrapped in flowering vines, statues crumbling with graceful decay. A fig tree leans sideways, dropping fruit into a stone bowl filled with what you hope isn't blood. Is this your place? Dionysus smiles faintly. One of them, and you realize he's not just a god of wine and parties. He's a god of boundaries, of crossing them, of going mad in the wilderness and coming back changed. Historians still argue whether Dionysus was imported into Greek religion from older, more ecstatic cults, or if he emerged fully formed from native mythology. Some say he came from Thrace, others from Phrygia, or even farther east. No one agrees, and Dionysus, he doesn't clarify. He just exists where the rules fray. You settle onto a fallen log, and he begins to tell stories, not in words, but in memories. Images, flickers. You see a mortal king refusing to honor him, You remember his name and being torn apart by his own mother. Lost in divine frenzy, you see a theater in Athens, the crowd roaring with laughter and tears. During a festival in Dionysus's honor, you see women dancing barefoot under the moon, holding thyrsus staffs tipped with ivy and pine cones. And you see him always, him watching, smiling, changing shape. Man, beast, boy, shadow. Flame. The leopard curls up beside you. Dionysus hands you a pomegranate seed. You ever think, he says, that humans were never meant to stay the same? You want to answer, but your tongue is heavy. Instead, you eat the seed. It's sweet. The stars overhead blink into existence, one by one. Far off, you hear dolphins singing. Why dolphins? You ask. Finally, he shrugs. They're clever, social, playful, and they never forget who they were. You consider that. So they remember being pirates. Maybe, he says. Maybe not, but they know what not to do next time. That's haunting. And oddly comforting. You lie back, the sand surprisingly warm. The sky turns deeper blue. Dionysus hums a tune that loops like a lullaby. And you begin to understand. This god, for all his madness, is merciful. He doesn't destroy people outright. He gives them another form, another life, a second chance, but one where they can't make the same mistakes. The pirates weren't punished. They were redirected. You wonder what you would become if Dionysus decided you needed rewriting. And what if this entire journey has been your transformation? You're too sleepy to decide. Your eyes close, and you dream again. This time, it's dolphins playing in moonlight. When you open your eyes again, it's still night. Or it's night again. Time has that elastic quality around Dionysus. It stretches, curls in on itself, forgets to be linear. The stars above are impossibly bright, scattered like diamonds across velvet, and the sea murmurs gently just beyond the tree line. You're back on the ship, or maybe you never left it. The vines are still clinging to the mast, though they've bloomed now with tiny glowing blossoms that hum softly with bees that might be real, or dreams, or both. The deck is clean, the wine has vanished, and the air smells like citrus and myrrh. Dionysus is there, lounging with his back against a barrel, watching the horizon like it's telling him secrets. He turns as you stir. Sleep well. You nod. Slowly he chuckles, soft and warm. That's the trick, you know. Most people spend their whole lives resisting change. But sleep knows how to let go. You sit up. The dolphins are still following, occasionally leaping through moonlight, sending ripples across the dark water. It's like they've become the ship's escort. A pod of silver memories circling their own redemption. Dionysus stretches lazily. They'll follow us for a while. Some habits take time to unlearn. You watch them swim smooth arcs, playful splashes. It's peaceful in a way that almost feels earned, like you've passed through some threshold, some invisible ritual, and come out quieter on the other side. And then he tells you a story, not a dramatic myth, not one of those thunder and tragedy epics. This one is soft, slow, and strange. There was a boy, he says, born to a mortal woman and Zeus himself. His mother died before she could bring him into the world. So Zeus, in a rare act of follow-through, sewed the baby into his thigh and carried him to term. You blink, that part you've heard. Dionysus, you say. He winks. Cute baby, I hear. You can't help but smile. But he goes on, weaving the rest in with soft detail. How Hera, always jealous, sent madness to chase the child. How the baby was hidden among mortals, disguised as a girl for years. How he grew up a wanderer, slipping between cities, between shapes, always one step ahead of wrath and rejection. How can a god feel like he doesn't belong, you ask? Dionysus shrugs. Being divine doesn't mean being welcome. There's a stillness in that moment, a silence that sits between you like the ocean itself. Maybe that's why I like dolphins, he says eventually. They were pirates once. Now they belong to the sea. You nod, not because you fully understand, but because something about it feels true. Want to hear something stranger? He adds, casually. You gesture vaguely, stranger than grapevines growing from wood and panthers on deck. He smiles again. Historians still argue whether the dolphin story was meant to be literal, symbolic, or just a drunken poet trying to make sense of me. He pauses, then adds with mock offense, I was very coherent that day. You laugh, just a soft breath. Of air, really. But it feels good. The ship slows. Not in response to anything obvious. It just ... drifts, like it's heard the lull in your conversation and decided this is a good place to rest. Ahead, the sea sparkles, oddly like stardust sprinkled. On ink, you see something breaking the surface. But it's not a dolphin, it's a statue. Half submerged, marble and moss, eyes blind with barnacles. That's old, Dionysus says, nodding at it. Forgotten gods leave all kinds of souvenirs. You drift past it, the water glassy and calm, and now the dolphins circle tighter, drawing near, chirping to each other in bursts that sound like laughter. Will they ever change back, you ask? No need, Dionysus replies. They've got the sea and each other. Sometimes that's enough. You lean over the side of the boat, watching their shadows flit beneath the surface, faster than thought. You think they miss being human. He's quiet for a beat. Then, not all of them were ever fully human to begin with. You look at him. What does that mean? He just smiles. Classic. Then he adds, maybe we all wear the wrong shape now and then. Some people are just waiting for someone to show them how to change. It's quiet after that. The sea rocks the boat gently. You lie back against the deck, the wood warm, the sky endless. There's no destination, not anymore. No schedule, just drifting gently among stories and salt air. Somewhere far off, thunder murmurs, not threatening, just distant. Like a drum roll for some other myth. Dionysus starts humming again, and you think about change, how it can look like punishment, how it can feel like freedom, how sometimes it comes from a barefoot stranger with a flask and a grin who turns pirates into dolphins because he feels like it. You glance toward the prow again, but Dionysus is gone, so is the leopard, so is the wine. Only the ship remains, and the dolphins, and the scent of crushed grapes lingering in the air like the memory of a party. You barely remember, but never quite forget. The sea stretches out ahead. You exhale and you drift, and now, as the ship rocks gently beneath you and the last ripples of moonlight shimmer across the water, let yourself soften with the rhythm of the sea. You've wandered through myth and madness, through laughter and transformation. And now there's nothing left to do but rest. The wind is a whisper against your skin, just cool enough to make the air feel alive. Somewhere out there, the dolphins swim, still circling, still remembering who they used to be, or maybe they've forgotten entirely. And maybe that's a blessing. You breathe in the scent of old wood and salt and wild vines. The stars blink overhead, slow and forgiving. The ship is still, and your thoughts once so loud are quieter now, lulled by story and sea and the soft echo of a god's amusement. You're safe here. The world beyond the horizon can wait for now. This moment is enough, this drifting between what was and what could be. Held gently by myth and memory, let your muscles relax, your breath slow. Let your body settle into stillness. You've followed Dionysus through one of his gentlest myths, witnessed strange mercy in strange forms, and you've made it all the way to the edge of dream. So close your eyes, if you haven't already. Let the story carry you just a little further. Let it dissolve like mist. Let the sea rock you to sleep. Sweet dreams.